In this presentation, we would like to talk to you about second language acquisition in video games. First, we found that there's many researchers who have studied the possibilities to find second language acquisition and of course second language learning as well in video games. The reason for this is because they see video games as a resource with educational purposes and also language purposes. In this presentation, we would like to mention some aspects to reflect on those issues. For example, we would like to talk about video games in the field of visual literacy. What is visual literacy? So, long story short, video games are multimodal text because they combine images, sounds, and written text. All people who play video games, or gamers, to make it short, they have to be aware of all these elements to understand the video game they are playing. In this sense, we could say that video games usually have a set of symbols and indicators which users must acquire in order to properly develop their gaming goals. Second, gamers are able to acquire a second language, specifically English in this case, from their gaming activities. This is the idea, and it is that gamers can acquire language from seeing images, seeing text, and hearing sounds. I'm going to further explain this point with this slide. So you might wonder, what does Pokemon have to do with acquiring a second language? Well, in fact, a lot. As I said before, gamers have to be able to understand what is going on in every single part of the game to advance and to comprehend what they have around them. If they are not able to properly read all of these symbols, in this field, they won't be able to advance. And how do they read these symbols? They would read them by acquiring and picking up the words and expressions they found, and ultimately they will acquire them and they will use them later to understand the game. Let's see another example. Gamers are expected to understand and acquire the language or words assigned to the symbols and the objects to catch a Pokemon. Let's make this simple. In Pokemon Go, there's sort of a grading system. Excellent is the highest, but there are also others that reflect a minor performance or not a so good performance. Below excellent, there's great, there's super, there's okay. So if a gamer wants to get the highest performance, they need to be aware of the words that resemble of that or that assign that kind of performance. So if they don't know that excellent is the best grade they can get, how are they going to completely understand the game and make sense of the language, the images, the words, and the sounds they have around them? Now let's go through some gaming vocabulary, which is not by any means the only vocabulary and words you will find, but these are very useful and they are actually commonly used. For example, we have FAK. This word, you would use it to describe someone that is not in their keyboard, or to make it more general and simpler, in their computer. What does FAK mean? It means away from keyboard. So that basically says it all. The second word is rage quit. Rage quit means something that is very specific. A person rage quits when they are angry and they leave the game. Basically for non-apparent reason. But the usual reason for that is that they get angry and they just leave the game. Third word is avatar. Avatar is a word created to probably mean a character or a person in a video game. Buff. Buff is a word for describing improvements and changes that are used to improve the conditions of the game or some characters in the game. Nerf is completely the opposite. Nerf is used to describe a character or something in the game that has been having a reduced quality. Cheat. Cheat is something usually used to describe people who use codes that are not allowed in the game to, as the word describes it, cheat what is already established in the game. And feed. Feed is a very particular word which means that you are just losing the game intentionally to make your opponent in the game have a better condition. And this was all for my part. Let's go for the second one.
Okay, so now we will continue with lore, which essentially means the backstory of the game. It includes all the aspects of the game's narrative. The designers create intertextual references that players acquire and master throughout their gaming experience. Lore enables gamers to participate, build the game's narrative, and place themselves meaningfully in the game. It also provides a background and understanding of the game's logic, the history of the characters, also the locations, the weapons, the environment, and other elements. Lore integrates deeper layer into gaming, encouraging stronger commitments with the gamers to know the game. Another important element is the commitment, a factor that strongly mobilizes learning through video games. Research suggests that gamers would watch videos, participate in forums, even if they don't know the language. This position integrates both the desire for victory and strategies in learning language. Lore develops linguistic skills, aesthetic and cultural aspects of the gamers.
Okay, for this part of the exposition corresponds to talk about gamers in second language acquisition. As we know, the majority of the most video games are developed or made in English language. So the act of learning English or the act of learning a second language for gamers corresponds to the fact of the gaming itself, not just because they want to learn a second language. In fact, they make the relationship all between the gamers, especially because there are communities online that are with the purpose of sharing ideas, of sharing what you are experimenting with the video game. So for the gamers, this is very important. Of course, they have the need to understand English because, as I said before, they always try to understand what is the video game talking about, what is the history, what is the background, and all of that is made in English because developers, most of all, are English native speakers. And yes, talking about the use of the English in this is because I say communities online, they're very important for them. They use the English as a tool of communication because if you're interacting with people online, it's going to be like more positive for you as a gamer to share your ideas, your purposes of the video games, and this is the main tool they use to learn English, not because they want to use in another aspects of life. They want to learn English as the tool of communication to interact with these people online. This is the major purpose for gamers to use second language acquisition.
Video games in the classroom. It is a fact that we are surrounded by lots of technology which can be used as a tool for language learning. One of these artifacts are the video games that can help students to develop language learning skills. Video games in the classroom can be used not only for fun but also to engage students in second language learning in a natural and different way. There are some positive aspects about using video games in the classroom. One of these is that video games can engage students in virtual worlds where they can learn lots of vocabulary, grammar structures, and also they can practice what they already know. And games can help students to calm down and find new ways to understand the concepts they're working on. But also there are some negative aspects about using video games in the classroom, and is that maybe the games can be a distraction for some students because maybe they just can leave the game and go to social medias or play in another game. And the other one is that some students can just get focused on winning the game or pass it to the next level. Finally, it is important to mention the teacher's role in this kind of classes because the attention will be focused just on the student. The teacher will be there just introducing the topic and solving questions. It is important that the teacher also knows how the video game works.